want to see peace in the Middle East. We want the nuclear dust. We're going to want that.
Listen, chat, you know what time it is. We're getting through this first of all, and I'm going to keep this minimal commentary because I've heard that this is very boring and bad. It's him playing the greatest hits. This is his address of the nation last night, right? You know the kinds of things he's going to say. I know the kinds of things he's going to say. This is a great approach, by the way. Great approach to the podium here. He's looking really confident.
Thank you very much. We totally obliterated those nuclear sites. The regime then sought to rebuild their nuclear program at a totally different location, making clear they had no intention of abandoning their pursuit.
I'm never sure where to draw the line on whether it's propaganda or just a fundamental misunderstanding of Iran. Both, I guess, I suppose. I was having a chat in Dave Legend's stream earlier today with Leapin' Larry and Dave, and I think that Larry and Dave seem to think that this is a climb down and they're trying to look for an off-ramp, but I'm not sure I agree with that, because let's face it, they are taking all those troops to the region. They started this war in the knowledge that it would be very difficult and that they probably wouldn't be able to achieve their aims even with the strength of military that they had there in the region at the time. They made that decision regardless. They went, okay, we're going to hit them. And then now Iran is responding. And Hegseth, Trump, like, these are the people that are in charge. I think that that's like the key misunderstanding, that I think that some people are like, maybe their heads are just not in it, like, and they don't understand like how much hubris is being exhibited here. You know what I mean? And I'm not shitting on these other creators. Like, I value Larry's opinion, I value Dave's opinion entirely. Like, you know, I've got a lot of respect for both of them. And I'm not saying that my opinion is right, but I just think that it is not. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to invade sometime over the next 48 hours. Market closes tomorrow and it's a long weekend. I just don't see de-escalation. This is what I'm saying. I just don't think anyone does see de-escalation being a thing. At the helm of all of this, you have got Donald Trump, who is a egotistical person. I think that this is the most likely thing to happen. He has confirmed that if he puts US military assets in the region, if he builds up force in a region, a thing happens. It happened in Venezuela. Like, these are the things that we can solidly predict about Trump. You know, he sent a bunch of fucking, you know, he's like a mafioso. There's a bunch of guys with guns outside your house, and he's going, come out, we just want to talk it through, it's not a problem, don't worry about it. And then they just like kick the door down and start beating you up anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what he's doing, that's the way he's operating. And, you know, they sent a bunch of military assets to the Caribbean, and then lo and behold, they did the Venezuela thing. They sent a bunch of military assets to the Persian Gulf, the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean, and there you go. They did the thing. And they're also sending a bunch of troops there now. And I just think at this point, fool me once, shame on me. Or shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, it's not going to happen. Yeah, this is the thing. Trump does stuff like makes Marco Rubio wear shoes that are too big for him. Beforehand, when he did a speech or announced one, it would temporarily lower the oil price. This one didn't work out that way. Yep. It really feels like I'm reading about the British Empire off the coast of Ming China or some shit. It stinks of gunboat diplomacy. It is exactly that. And the thing is that that's because that's his understanding of fucking geopolitics, of being the president of a country and shit like that. And it's why he like doesn't like Obama, and he doesn't like Biden, and he just doesn't like any other president other than Bill Clinton, because he's got a fat hog.
Have had missiles that could reach the American homeland, Europe, and virtually any other place on Earth.
Virtually any other place on Earth.
And strategy was so obvious. They wanted to produce as many missiles as possible, and they did, with the longest range possible, and they had some weapons that nobody believed they had. We just learned that out.
Every single speech he does. Now, chat, I hope you understand. The reason that I play these speeches of his in full, and the reason that, you know, I actually like spend some time trying to dissect some stuff is because I do think it's important. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, do we have to really listen to this guy? Why are we watching another Trump speech? This guy's just, it doesn't matter what he says, yada, 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 and this, that, and the other, right? But the reason that I do this is because some of us in the chat are young. Most of us in the chat are like, you know, around the age of 30, 40, you know, late 20s and stuff like that. So, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to hopefully be around for a long time. And I think that it's important that we remember this shit and we don't let people forget this shit. Because a better world is coming. It's round the corner. It's currently struggling to be born. And, you know, the struggle continues. Yeah, like the struggle will continue probably until after we're dead. You know, even some of the youngest of us here. And we have to remember that, like, our living memory is more important than, you know, what some people might write about in books. I do think that it is, like, incredibly pertinent to pay attention to politics at times like this. I think there's times when you don't have to pay attention to politics, and it doesn't really make too much of a difference. That's fine. You know, in terms of, like, the last fucking 30 years of neoliberal sort of, like, center-left, but imperialist politics and shit like that. You pay attention to the important bits, like the imperialism and stuff. But then when it comes to, like, you know, I guess, like, the way that people have had, like, a bit of social mobility and stuff like that, it's like, that's, you know, sure, people are just not going to pay attention to that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, by the way. I hope that this is making sense. I'm not saying, like, don't pay attention to that stuff, don't ever pay attention. Like, for us, politics sickos, I think that we should pay attention to everything, but there are times in history where, like, it doesn't necessarily matter. But now I think is a critical point, and a lot of people, I think, when they say I don't want to have to listen to Trump and shit like that, they just want to tune it out, and I get that. But I'm sorry, but, like, if Hitler had have been, like, doing posts and doing speeches that are recorded in English and shit like that. And you can find some archive footage and shit like that, but it's there's nowhere near to the degree of frequency of the shit that Trump is putting out. You know what I mean? I agree. One of the worrying things is that the living memory of fascism in the 30s and the 40s is disappearing, as well as the memory of life before vaccines and modern medicine. Most people don't realize how bad it was. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, we do have to look at this stuff, and we have to remember, you know, at the end of the day, there is going to be some comic relief during his speeches because he is, unfortunately, like the funniest fascist of all time, sadly. It's just a sad reality that is what it is. But I think it's worth us paying attention to people like this so that A, it can never happen again, and B, we try and glean some kind of information from what he is saying. You know what I mean? Hey, so the neoliberal end of history period was one of the times that people were least able to change the course of things politically. Yes, absolutely, yeah. This is what I mean in terms of, like, now that even Francis Fukuyama has come out and been like, looks like history 2 is happening. Now is the time to pay attention. Now is the time to do things. Turns out history was just having a little nap.
And their race for a nuclear bomb, a nuclear weapon like nobody's ever seen before. They were right at the doorstep. For years, everyone has said that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, but in the end, those are just words if you're not willing to take action when the time comes. Our armed forces have been extraordinary. There's never been anything like it militarily. Everyone is talking about it. And
you see, this is the thing. Like, this is what gets me about people saying that he's not going to do a ground invasion. It's like, you think that this guy who was there saying this is the best thing that's ever happened, it's really good, no one's ever seen anything like it, yada yada. You think that this guy is not going to do a ground invasion. This guy is going to throw American troops into the fucking grinder again and again and again and again until he dies or isn't in the president's house anymore. That's it.
Especially of the 13 American warriors who have laid down their lives in this fight.
1,300. It's more like 1,300, but okay.
We salute them, and now we must honor them by completing the mission for which they gave their lives. And every single one of the people, their loved ones said, please, sir, please finish the job. Every one of them. And we are going to finish the job, and we're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close. I want to thank our allies in the Middle East, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar.
What for? What have they done?
UAE,
What have they done?
And Bahrain.
What have they done, dude? What have they done?
They've been great. And
How?
we will not let them get hurt or fail
Yeah, but like, you know, you haven't done that
in any way, shape, or form.
Does he think that the Gulf states just like believe him when they say this? Does he think that the Emirati are sat there going like, yeah, man, it was a really good idea for us to have US bases in our fucking country?
The recent rise in gasoline prices here at home. This short-term increase has been entirely the result of the Iranian regime launching deranged terror attacks against commercial oil tankers in neighboring countries that have nothing to do with the conflict.
He just directly contradicted himself. He was like, yeah, we won't let our Gulf friends get hurt. And then he was like, neighboring countries have been attacked in deranged ways.
And can never be trusted with nuclear weapons. They will use them, and they will use them quickly.
Consent manufacturing has got so sloppy. I can't believe the US is going to put boots on the ground on Easter weekend when for years they've only ranted about the war on Christmas. Yeah. It's new. It's called the war on Easter. They're doing it in the UK.
We've beaten and completely decimated Iran. They are decimated, both militarily and economically and in every other way. And the countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily.
He went Hormuz Strait, and it sounds like he said hormone. Hormuz Strait? I don't think so. It's true. Last fucking week, he was talking about how the Strait of Hormuz needs to be open. And it's like, if they don't open the Strait of Hormuz in 48 hours, we're going to go sicko mode. You know, we can't let people forget this, chat. Like, this is so important. This is why I'm saying we need to listen. You need to hear what this guy says. You need to listen to the insane things that he says. Because it's good for the soul to know how bad the empire is doing. You know what I mean?
I have a suggestion. Number one, buy oil from the United States of America. We have plenty. We have so much.
He's begging people to buy oil from him.
Should have done it before. Should have done it with us as we asked.
I didn't know he said this. I didn't know that. Oh my god. Oh my god, I didn't know. Did they not already do that? You're telling me European countries don't buy oil from the United States? That doesn't happen? No, of course it's directed to the imperial core, Litty. That's what I'm saying. But like, do we not buy from them already?
When this conflict is over, the strait will open up naturally. It'll just open up naturally. They're going to want to be able to sell oil.
What does he mean? He's talking about it like it's like a disease is affecting it at the moment, and when it gets better, it'll naturally just open up. That's what's going to happen.
Because that's all they have to try and rebuild. It will resume the flowing, and the gas prices will
It'll open up if you relax.
back
Just
down.
relax.
Stock prices will rapidly go back up. They haven't come down very much, frankly. They came down a little bit, but they've had some very good days over the last couple of days. We've done
No, they haven't. What world are you in, bro?
actually much better than I thought. But we had to take that little journey to Iran to get rid of this horrible threat. Their radar is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force. The nuclear sites that we obliterated with the B-2 bombers have been hit so hard that it would take
Chat,
months.
do you think that they think a ground invasion will like stop the missiles from landing? Does he think that if he does a ground invasion, it'll stop the missiles from being fired? Because we have to obviously we could cut through the bullshit because we know the reality. You know, Iran still has missile launchers, they still have anti-aircraft, they still have radar. All the things that he's saying that they don't have, they still have. He must think that a ground invasion, like, we know that they're going to do a ground invasion. And through, like, listening to all this stuff where he's saying, like, we could do this, but we haven't chosen to do it, and we could do it, and it's one of them, and, you know, they're never going to be able to do anything ever again. And it's like, it's just kind of hit me that, like, does he think that if he does a ground invasion, they will stop attacking Israel, they will stop bombing the Gulf region bases and stuff like that, because they'll be terrified and they'll have to focus on that, because they have an infantry. Like, Iran has an infantry. They have missiles and they have an infantry. So, you know, like, what are you on about, bro? And also, if they use tanks, they got some of the best anti-tank, advice and instruction from people who are friends with him, like fucking Hezbollah and Al-Qassam. who are experts at taking out tanks in a guerrilla fashion. So, you know, I don't know, man. They are going to ramp up attacks on civilian infrastructure, but I think it's important to remember that they have just been attacking civilian infrastructure. You know, the idea that they haven't been attacking civilian infrastructure as badly as they could have been is not true, because 2,000 people have been killed by American bombs so far, that have been noted or, you know, accounted for by, you know, the Iranian, I don't think it's the defense ministry that does the numbers. I think it's the health ministry. If there's anything that we've learned, MAGA really literally knows nothing about warfare at any level. Yeah, like, look, you know, the only reason, like, if you think about it, the only reason that we're not seeing numbers as high as, like, what we saw in the first week or the first month of the genocide in Gaza is because the Gaza Strip does not have, like, an air defense mechanism. It has no air defense. That's the only reason that Israel was able to completely pummel the Gaza Strip into the ground, because they just have zero air defense mechanisms. They don't have an air force. They don't have anything. They used to have one, but Israel bombed the shit out of it and destroyed it. And yeah, civilian infrastructure is literally the only thing that they've been able to hit since the start of March. Yeah.
To get near the nuclear dust.
Nuclear dust. Nuclear dust. Chat, he said it again, by the way. Nuclear dust. He said it again.
We want to see peace in the Middle East. We want the nuclear dust. We're going to want that.
Again.
The nuclear dust so hard that it would take months to get near the nuclear dust. Hit so hard that it would take months to get near the nuclear dust.
Did he say this here in this address to the nation because he knew that it was a crazy thing to call it in his press gaggle that he did that day when he first said it, if you remember? Right? Nuclear dust is happening, Muel. You can't fight it. It's verbal wildfire. I'm sure some people told him cake and he can't understand it not literally being cake. So they described it as dust. The nuclear dust he's referring to is the enriched uranium. That's what he's talking about. Like, you could just, yeah, like, hey, kid drunks. If you do some learning and have a look, like, everyone's talking about enriched uranium, but no one knows what it is, right? But this is just literally what enriched uranium looks like. It is just a solid disk of uranium that has been enriched and refined. So this is what he's talking about. This is what he's on about. He's like, yeah, man, this is just nuclear dust. But they probably told him that this is how they make it, right? They probably like said to him, oh yeah, actually the way that it happens is they get, like, you know, they mine uranium and then they get all the dust and they mash it, they mash it up into dust and they refine it and then it becomes this, right? Like, this is what it looks like. It can look like this as well. I quite like the way that it looks. It's just it's a neat thing to look at. It's a very interesting substance. You know what I mean? Look at it. There you go. That's what it is. That's how the refined it's like an ingot, right? You know, like when you refine iron and it becomes an ingot, it's like an ingot. It's like a uranium ingot. This is enriched uranium, basically.
World War I lasted 1 year, 7 months, and 5 days.
Whoa, what? Oh, American involvement in World War I. I thought this motherfucker just said World War I lasted 1 year and 7 months. Yeah, apropos of nothing. Like, he's just like, don't forget, it took us a year to do World War I.
The Korean War lasted for 3 years, 1 month, and 2 days. The Vietnam War.
Okay, you know what this is, don't you, chat? You know what this is, right? This is him saying, I know it's gonna take longer, right? That's what this is. And he's saying we're gonna do it way earlier than any of those. We're gonna be in there for less time than any of those wars. Don't you worry about it. That's exactly the point of this. That's exactly the point of it. He is saying, I'm not gonna be the worst president of all time because there have been longer wars. And we're gonna do a really short one. Don't worry about it, lads.
Lasted for 19 years. 5 months and 29 days. Iraq went on for 8 years, 8 months, and 28 days. We are in this military operation, so powerful, so brilliant, against one of the most powerful countries for 32 days. And the country has been eviscerated.
Like, does he not understand how stupid he's making it sound? Even the most basic dickhead in the world knows that Afghanistan and Iran are different. If they've like listened to any, like, when in the history of the war in Afghanistan was CNN interviewing members of the Taliban? When was that ever happening? It wasn't, right? It just didn't happen. And the members of the Taliban weren't on there being like, yeah, man, we've got superior air defense. We're not worried about getting invaded, yada, 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 all this stuff. And and people are just like, yeah, man, Iran is like, yeah, obviously. It took the USA so long to do Afghanistan, but Iran is different because they're stupider and weaker somehow.
The United States of America, thank you very much and good night.
Hey, George, what's going on? Wait, what? It just cut off like that? Wait, what do you mean, dude?
And
Wow, that was some high energy shit, dude. That was so high energy, man. What an absolute legend. What a great president. What a great leader. Yeah, so that did nothing. So that did absolutely fucking nothing to oil prices. So it looks like yesterday there was kind of a lull. April the 1st in the morning. Yesterday, it opened at about $97 a barrel. This is after the fluctuation happening all over the weekend. So this is like March 30th, March 27th, and then over the weekend, it just fucking like climbed and climbed and climbed and climbed and climbed and climbed. Came back down a little bit yesterday. That was probably at the announcement of the speech, because I think yesterday morning they were saying there's going to be an announcement. Trump is going to address the nation later. And so then it kind of steadily rose throughout the day. And then obviously as soon as people realized, you know, this is actually like nothing, because this was about the time that the speech came out, the announcement came out. So it was nothing. And then it fucking skyrocketed, chat. It fucking skyrocketed. And this is just crude oil, and this is Brent now. Various Gulf states, price of their oil is going through the roof. The price of US oil is going down. And again, chat, you know, you've also got to remember that, like, this could have easily been some kind of a plan that they could have done. I was in Rob Rousseau's chat the other day, and I think that Rob Rousseau said the only way that you could possibly think that Trump is playing 5D chess is if he is actually JD Pondon, where he is accelerating the fall of the empire because he's a BRICS plant, right? He's been bought by BRICS, and he is bringing down the fucking capitalist empire, and he knows he's doing it, and that's the 5D chess, right? Which is not true. That's not what's happening. But I do think 14D underwater reverse hyper backgammon, I do think that there has to be some kind of allowance to be made for market manipulation, right? Market manipulation where he is trying to bring down the price of US oil so that more people buy US oil, and is trying to push up the price of Gulf state oil because he doesn't care about empire as much as the Democrats did. He doesn't care about empire as much as previous Republican presidents did. And he only really cares about the US and this techno, or the technatocracy, or whatever the fuck it is, where they, like, you know, reduce their power to just operating within the Western Hemisphere, right? In Latin America, Central America, South America, the Caribbean, and obviously North America. It could be that is the big plan. Is it technocracy? Is that the way you say it? Sorry, Sorka. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. It's the technate of America that they're looking to create. If you want to know what that is, it's some kind of mad fucking idea that was from the 1800s, and they're trying to, there are people who are obsessed with this. You can see that Venezuela, Guyana, and Suriname are like all part of this. So you got Venezuela. I think a bit of Colombia is in there as well. And obviously you got all the Central Americas, and Cuba, and Haiti, all the Caribbean is all part of this technate of America, this idea, right? It's literally the baddies in World of Darkness. I've not heard about that. It is some alt history purgatory. That is what it is, yeah. And, you know, Elon Musk is obsessed with this. So is Jeff Bezos. So is other tech bro sicko freaks. And they all just, like, love the idea of this all being under the control of the USA, right? And in some versions of this map, it even includes larger swaths of South America and Latin America. But, you know, if you think about the threats that the USA has been making towards Venezuela, Colombia, Cuba, Haiti, all these places, you've got Greenland in there as well. And you got Canada, you know. So this is the idea of you know, what could possibly be going on. I'm just kind of waxing lyrical at this point, chat. Obviously, like, you know, I'm not saying this is absolutely true. It's a possible situation, right?